My name's Bradley. I'm with the new UNDP Center here for Technology, Innovation, and Sustainable Development. And we're super pleased to be here in partnership with Steve and the rest of his team at SGInnovate on this topic of tech for sustainability, not just tech for good, but tech for a sustainable world. We're here because we think there's an amazing, amazing opportunity and an amazing promise. And we think that the promise is to link this incredibly vibrant technology and innovation ecosystems here in Singapore with the rest of the developing world to help identify and sometimes co-create, co-design solutions here in Singapore for the rest of the developing world. The three initial areas in which we want to work, where we think Singapore is already world leading or will soon be world leading, and those areas around sustainable finance, obviously the massive fintech scene here and the already very robust finance sector here. Another is around sustainable agriculture and agri-tech, and that makes a lot of sense, I think, too, with the government's new commitment now on the future of food here in Singapore and beyond. And the third area is around digitalization in cities and urban areas. And we've picked these areas not just because Singapore is really good at them, or we think we'll soon be very, very good at them, but because all of these issues, all these topic areas are super, super relevant to the developing world, to new cities, new mega cities in Africa, to the problems of rural farmers in Africa or remote areas of Asia. So that's the idea, and the idea is to work out here with all of you interested folks how we build this this tech for sustainability community in Singapore and beyond, and then how do we, what are the mechanics of linking up Singapore with the rest of the world in this way. We think that with UNDP's global presence, our sort of neutral brokering role as the United Nations, so sort of shepherding role of the Sustainable Development Goals, and I think a new development that's really relevant and really pragmatically important is that we've recently launched, too, a global network of innovation labs in 60 countries, 60 developing countries around the world. It will be soon the world's largest network of innovation labs, and we want to figure out great ways to link Singapore, all of you folks, up to these innovation labs to do good work across the world, not just here in Singapore.
The discussion, we set the 9 sort of agenda, slightly different from SDG goals, but including everything, including infrastructure, water, electricity, and also learning, and also healthcare, agriculture, food, and also living space, and something like that. But we have on our agenda for each of those, which is maybe more sustainable, more distributed, more good for environment. And then we try to set up the project. We need to think about how we can utilize technology to inclusive and also sustainable manner. And it is possible if more people think that way. That's why I'm so passionate to be here, because at least look at this full of people. Many people are interested in that way. So I'm so excited to be here.
How can we use technology as a tool to make government work better, to enable us, to your point, to be able to do the kind of legitimate convening that really only government can do to answer some of those hard questions, on the question of how we can use technology to make our institutions both more effective but also more legitimate. And it's those twin goals that I think we have to meet, and that technology can help us to do both of more effectively, so that we can recognize the good ideas that you're talking about, so we can implement them, so we can scale them for greater good. This is great, but anyone pick a number. These are pretty broad issues, and it takes, I think, some help to really help to shape and define what the problem is and do that matchmaking between demand and supply, and that's where government needs to do some of the heavy lifting in order to marshal what I think is a lot of goodwill that's out here wanting to do well by doing good.
being an intergenerational investor would mean that we must be, by nature, a sustainable investor, and we must invest in sustainability. Because if the returns are not sustainable, if the businesses are not sustainable, and if sustainability is not at the forefront and not at the core of the company's product and services, then sustainability cannot be assured. In the absence of sustainability assurance, then we are not able to perform our duty as an intergenerational investor. So for that reason, sustainability is what we believe in.
Most exciting technology or set of technologies that are available to us today are the technologies of collective intelligence. That's not one tool, and AI plays a very big role in this. It's a technology that connects the brains in the room rather than just the data that's coming from the sensors. So it's the data that's coming from people, essentially. But there are very different models by which we do that. The crowdsourcing is a great shorthand. Citizen engagement, citizen science, open innovation has a lot of different terms, but it breaks down really into those projects that look like we're a competition, like the X Prize is a great way to get something done. A lot of things look more like Wikipedia. It's collaboration. It's a lot of people working on one thing. Or maybe it's co-creation. A lot of people developing a lot of different solutions. If we want to tackle climate change, we don't want one answer. What we need is 1,000 really good answers and fast. So the big technology, the kind of single thing I really want to say is that the most important technology is the technology that connects our brains. Bradley mentioned the 60 innovation labs that UNDP is starting. One of the things that's exciting about that network is not only that it's creating these citizen-driven innovation hubs that will have a lot of startup, bottom-up activity, but that UNDP, through its convening power, is able to marshal the resources of government, both to define problems that people can solve and hopefully marshal additional investment resources.